Today, we are diving into something that's standard practice in the world's most safety-critical industries. We're talking everything from oil rigs to operating rooms. We're going to break down Bowtie Analysis, a seriously powerful tool that helps you literally see an accident before it ever happens.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a huge question, right? And it gets right to the heart of what makes this method so incredibly valuable. Instead of just reacting to incidents after the fact, Bowtie Analysis lets you proactively map out the entire story of a potential failure, all the way from its causes to its consequences.
Now, I know a lot of you out there live and breathe traditional risk assessments like HIRA, and you should. They're absolutely essential for identifying risks. But Bowtie takes it a strategic step further. It's not about replacing HIRA, it's about making it stronger. Here's the key difference. HIRA tells you that a risk exists. Bowtie shows you exactly how to manage it, visually.
So what is this thing really? Well, at its core, it's a diagram. It's a visual that tells the complete story of a risk, connecting the causes to the consequences, and, most importantly, showing you all the controls that are supposed to keep things safe. Okay, so there's the formal definition. It's a visual way to understand how a specific hazard can escalate into a major incident. It literally shows you the different paths to failure and the defenses, or what we call barriers, that you have in place to stop it. And this is why it's called a Bowtie. It's actually pretty brilliant. That knot right in the middle, that's the critical moment you lose control over a hazard. We call that the top event. To the left, you've got all the threats that could cause it, and to the right, you've got the potential consequences. This simple shape elegantly separates prevention from litigation, and that right there is one of its most powerful features. You know, the best way to really understand a Bowtie is to just build one. So let's do that. We're going to walk through the whole process, piece by piece, and we'll use a super common scenario from construction and manufacturing to make it all crystal clear. These are the 6 core components. We're going to start with a hazard, then jump to that critical top event in the middle. After that, we'll build out the left side for prevention and the right side for recovery. And we'll use working at heights as our guide.
First up, the hazard. Now, it's important to get this right. This isn't an accident itself. It's a normal part of doing business that just happens to have the potential to cause harm. Think of things like storing flammable liquids, or, in our example, simply working at heights. It's an inherent part of the job.
Now, let's talk about the knot of the Bowtie, the top event. This is that precise moment where things go from being controlled to uncontrolled. And this is critical. It's not the injury, it's the fall itself. At that moment, control over the hazard of working at heights has just been lost. Okay, let's move over to the left side and see how this builds out. What could actually cause our top event? These are the threats, and you've got to be specific here. We're not talking about vague things like human error. We mean concrete things like missing guardrails, unsafe ladder use, or slippery surface. These are the triggers we need to block.
So how do we stop those threats from ever reaching the top event? Well, that's where our preventative barriers come in. These are all our proactive defenses on the left side of the Bowtie. Things like fall protection training, installing proper guardrails, and having good supervision, these are all barriers designed to stop the fall before it can happen.
Okay, now we have to move to the right side of the Bowtie. What if our preventative barriers fail and the worker actually falls? What happens next? These are the consequences. We're talking about a serious injury or even a fatality, legal penalties, a full production shutdown. We need to map out every single potential bad outcome.
And finally, we add our last line of defense, mitigative barriers. Now, these don't stop the fall, that's already happened, but they do reduce its impact. A safety net, for example, won't prevent the fall, but it might just prevent the fatality. A well-drilled emergency response plan minimizes the harm after the event. These are recovery controls.
So now we know how to build a Bowtie, but what makes it such a game changer for so many industries? Well, it's because it transforms risk management from, a checkbox compliance exercise into a really powerful strategic tool. I mean, the benefits here are huge. Bowtie diagrams make complex risks super easy for everyone to understand, from the person on the front line all the way up to the boardroom. They visually highlight where your defenses are weak, they help you align with standards like ISO 45001, and they make sure you're spending money on the controls that actually matter most.
I love this quote because it just perfectly captures the whole idea. Incidents rarely happen because of one single thing. They happen through a chain of events that often isn't obvious until it's too late. Bowtie Analysis makes those hidden chains,
those pathways to failure visible to everyone, so you can break them.
You've probably heard of the Swiss cheese model, right? Well, it's a perfect analogy here. Each one of our barriers is like a slice of cheese, and each slice has holes, which are potential weaknesses. An incident only happens when all those holes line up perfectly. Bowtie helps you see each slice of cheese and identify the weaknesses in your defenses before they ever get a chance to align.
All right, let's apply this whole framework to another classic high-risk scenario, one that's really common in the energy, manufacturing, and heavy industry sectors, confined space entry. This is going to show you just how versatile this tool really is.
Okay, let's walk through this one together. The hazard is the toxic atmosphere itself. The top event, our loss of control, is the moment a worker gets exposed. What are the threats? Well, things like poor ventilation or a gas detector that fails. So our preventive barriers, like atmospheric testing and an entry permit system, are there to stop that exposure. But if they fail, the consequences are catastrophic. Asphyxiation, maybe long-term lung damage. And that's where our mitigative barriers, like a standby rescue team, come in to manage the outcome. See? It's a complete picture of the risk.
And this is not just some niche tool. Bowtie analysis is standard practice in the world's most safety-conscious industries. We're talking oil and gas, managing process safety, aviation, preventing flight incidents, even healthcare, improving patient safety. They all rely on this visual method to get a handle on their most complex hazards.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? The real power of the Bowtie method is that it completely shifts your perspective. It moves you from being reactive to being deeply proactive, and it gives you a clear, strategic map of how you control your biggest risks.
And this right here is the crucial point. Hazards don't cause accidents. Uncontrolled hazards do. The goal is never to eliminate every single hazard. In most industries, that's just impossible. The goal is to prove that you have robust, effective controls in place to manage them, and Bowtie is one of the best tools out there for doing just that. So, are you ready to see your own risks with this kind of clarity? You can actually start today. A great first step is to download a simple Bowtie template and just try mapping out one of your own critical risk scenarios. I promise you, moving from a simple list of hazards to a visual map of your defenses might just change the way you see safety forever.